Biden administration has taken plans and steps to expedite putting Harriett Tubman on the $20 bill in place of Andrew Jackson. Okay, this was announced this past Monday, by the press secretary. I believe her name is Jen Psaki. Again, the efforts were originally began by the Obama administration. I think the Treasury Secretary at that time, his name was Jack Lew, and he proposed, supposedly what they say, he proposed putting Harriett Tubman on the $20 bill. So first things first, my first question would be, why? And is this something that Biden ran on during his campaign? We'll get into more of that in a minute. First, I want you guys to go ahead and subscribe if you're not subscribed. You can watch the entire video and like the video after, or you can leave a like now. It does help with the algorithms and for the video to circulate. So I appreciate that. So the first thing that stands out is, with the exception of Ben Franklin, who's on the $100 bill, every other person on a dollar bill, right, that I could think of was the caliber of a president at the very least. And even Benjamin Franklin, he played a major role in drafting up the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. You know, they have him as the founding father of America, whatever, right? But every other person on the bill was that caliber, except for Harriett Tubman. Now, no offense to the legacy of Harriett Tubman, but Harriett Tubman was a slave. Even though she did go on to do great things and free, you know, other slaves and whatnot, she still was a slave. So to me, it's not really equivalent to put her on the money. I mean, if you are into that type of thing and you care, right? To me, what the person that should be on there, hypothetically, regardless of how you feel about him, is Barack Obama, right? I mean, obviously it's an empty gesture, but if you're going to make an empty gesture to appease Black people, right? Shouldn't the gesture at least be, I don't even know what's the word. Shouldn't it be justifiable? Okay, but you'll also recall that I asked the question, was this something that Biden was running on, or a promise that he was promising during his campaign cycle? The answer to that question is no. Biden ran on something specifically as it pertains to Black people, something called the Lift Every Voice plan, right? Which is just more pandering. It was similar to Trump's plan. I think it was called the Platinum plan, right? He might as well call it the Platinum Chain or the Platinum Rims plan. All right, you know, things that, you know, small details that people wouldn't even pay attention to. These are kind of like slaps in your face, essentially. They're telling you what they think about you, right? So Biden ran on the Lift Every Voice plan. There were some very small investments that he was talking about making. A lot of extensions of programs from the Obama administration. Small business investments that turned out to be for everyone as well. So again, it's not even specific to Black people, but this is what he has in his plan. I'll leave a link down below in the description so y'all can check out the plan for yourself and read up on it. I'm not going to get into too much of it here. All right. Now, here's the thing, though, right? Is that Biden, when he was running for election, he never promised much to Black people anyway. He did the same thing that the Democrats do year after year, which is they come around the Black community when it's time to, around election cycle, right? They pander to you. They do things to me, which result is like, you know, amount to blatant insults, right? Like Hillary Clinton pulling hot sauce out of her purse, or Kamala Harris did a photo op in Tim's. Like, she really did a photo op in Tim's. Like, people, like, who really thinks Kamala Harris wears Timberlands? You feel what I'm saying? But, you know, sometimes I wonder if Black people, we have the common sense enough. Not all of us, of course, speaking in generalities. But I wonder if we have the common sense to even be offended at some of these things. I mean, you may not even be offended. We may not even have to go so far as to say be offended. But sometimes I wonder if we really have the wherewithal, a lot of us, to really peep game and see what's going on and see how they're doing these things right in our face and essentially what they think about you, right? Biden ran and didn't promise much during his election cycle. He met with Cardi B. Okay, now he could meet with Cardi B, but yet when Ice Cube, who drafted up what he called the Contract with Black America, and had specific items in there that he wanted to see moved upon, and specific things mentioned, you know what the Biden administration told him? They said essentially, you know, wait till after the election and then we'll meet with you after the election, right? Now, Trump's representatives actually met with Cube, and they met with him on the phone. They had a meeting, however long, and they actually took some things from Ice Cube's plan and implemented them into Donald Trump plan, what he had for going on for black people. Okay, so that's a plus. But yet the Democrats, who black people voted at a 90 percentile rate for, okay, that's the key. That's the key thing, and this is why this is so important and so relevant. Is because we know year after year, black people is kind of like we're chained to the Democratic Party. Those of us who do vote didn't state this in the beginning, but let me state it now. I don't endorse any candidate. I didn't endorse Biden. I also don't support Trump. But again, going back to black people, it seems that they're chained to the Democratic Party. And so, Biden did his typical things, his typical pandering, but yet he didn't meet with somebody who actually wanted to, actually had substance. You know what I mean? Again, no offense to Cardi B. I don't got to denigrate Cardi B for my viewing audience to really understand that, if we're comparing dispositions, mental outlooks, if we're talking about who we want to, argue on our behalf for a political reason, if politics is your thing, and if you get into that, I'm definitely going to take Ice Cube over Cardi B. It's not really much of a discussion. Okay, so what is my point? My point is the Democrats are showing you what they think about you. They're showing you how they value your intelligence, whether they do or don't. By all of these things, by the pandering, by the, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Um, just expecting your vote year in and year out, and you not seeing anything in return for it. He's nowhere near close to his first 100 days yet, but look at all of the executive orders that he's passing, things that he's doing. He's not done anything. He's not fulfilled any of his promises to the black community, right? So, you know what he has done though? He's, reversed Trump's transgender ban for the military, which is kind of neither here nor there, right? But he also signed a bill to allow trans women to compete in, women's sports. You know what he has done as well? If you look at a politician, right? Let's take Barack Obama, for example, right? Like if you had to define his presidency or again, come up with the biggest piece of work that he did, that he put out there, it would be Obamacare, right? So in that same way that's his career piece of legislation and work, what would Joe Biden's piece of career legislation be considered? I'd say it had to be the 94 crime bill, right? So he's locked up he's locked up more black people than any other president. And Kamala Harris also very similarly, when she was the AG, Attorney General out in California, she also had a record of what she claimed she was going to be a progressive prosecutor, right? But from what I understand in my research, that's a label that many people claim. It's a label that, is kind of trendy, and but yet she did not pan out to be a progressive prosecutor. She turned out to be the exact opposite of that. And there was a couple, numerous cases where she could have intervened, and there was numerous cases where there was fault on the part of the police department, and she didn't advocate for the defendant. So we see what type of person she is again, right? She's just nothing more than another puppet that they put in place. I do get the argument, the other side of the argument that's to be made for Democrats, and I do understand why, a lot of black people still, vote Democrat and support the Democratic Party. It's because they support, a lot of the government funding programs, such as housing assistance, which is i.e. welfare, food stamps, EBT, so forth and so on, right? They support a lot of these government programs that provide benefits to people, even though it's more of white America on these programs than it actually is black America, of course, because then their numbers as far as population are a lot larger. It still helps to keep us dependent. So I get the argument of, while white people historically and systemically have had more access to wealth, and it's like, yeah, if your person has access to wealth, they may not need programs. And it's like, tell that to a person who can't eat tomorrow, you don't need assistance or forget the programs or whatever. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to get that off with them. So I get that. But at the same time, these programs still help to keep you dependent. The Democrats are the same ones who are supporting abortion. You know what I mean? And at this point, we got 1,000 black babies aborted per day. So we got a real problem on our hands. And it seems that the party that, not even seems, I know what it is, right? But the party that black people support by and large are the party that's largely responsible. I'm not saying the Republicans are much better, because again, I don't support either one, but it would seem that, black people are supporting the one party that's helped keeping them, subjected. Now, see, here's the larger issue that I wanted to highlight and the ultimate point of what I'm saying here. And if you don't listen to or remember anything else I say in this podcast, remember this part right here, right? And this is the ultimate problem. If we're going to frame it in the complete context of why black people continuously supporting Democrats is a problem. White American household wealth for all the white households in America is valued at is equivalent to $100 trillion. Black people right now, we're at about 2.5 to $3 trillion. We've always been between 0 and 4. In 1995, white people had about $25 trillion, whereas in 1980, I believe it was somewhere around 11. But see, what has happened is that under Reagan, under Bush Sr., under Clinton, under Bush Jr., if I got that correctly, he came after, under Obama, and even under Trump, right? White people have taken off, their wealth has taken off, and that's where the gap has increased through the policies that were implemented in legislation that was passed through these presidents, right? And of course, if you get 400 years of labor, right, you're going to be wealthy, right? A lot more wealthy than your counterparts, especially the ones that you subjected. That's 400 years of no wages and no taxes, right? So you see how they drove in the wedge, right? But again, back to the economic wealth gap. Most of white America has 90% of the wealth of the country right now, right? Black people have about 2.6%. And of black people's 2.6%, that bottom half of that 2.6% has negative wealth. Negative 200 billion to be exact. So the bottom half of black America's 2.6% of the wealth has negative wealth, negative $200 billion to be exact, and nearly none of it is liquid, right? It's because most of the wealth is all boomers and retirees. It's their house and their pension, right? That's why nearly none of it's liquid. Liquid wealth is defined as the cash that you would have on hand from your assets once you pretty much subtracted your liabilities from your assets. So in other words, it's how much cash you would have on hand once you readily convert assets that can be converted into cash, right? 75% of Black America's 2.6% of the wealth of the American pie is in the top 10%. 90% of Black America's 2.6% of the wealth of America's wealth, 90% of it is in the top 20%. And see, so clearly what it is Black people by and large don't really understand, and a lot of people don't really understand just how wide the gap is, the economic gap is, and how far we need to go in order to bridge this thing, and just how poor Black folk really are collectively as a whole. And so, Black people, listen to me carefully. We do not have time. We literally cannot afford to be playing these stupid political games with these same politicians who are just deceiving you. You know what I mean? Year in and year out. There was a study done that said by the year 2053, I think it is, that the Black net worth of a household and just entire Black net worth would be $0, right? Many people looked at that. I've had conversations with friends and family and associates and all these types of things. A lot of them find it hard to believe, and again, it's because they don't really actually know the numbers. See what I'm saying? Once you know the numbers and you bear out, you see what it's hidden for. Then you start to see, okay, this thing is tangible, it's real. The Black people and the Black groups that we're talking about that is suffering most from this disparity is foundational Black Americans. In other words, the African descendants of slaves, those same Black people who built the country, right? Because before 1965, there were virtually the number of Black immigrants in this country was virtually non-existent. Okay, I'll put articles and links to some stuff down below so you guys can read the description. Okay, but again, these are foundational Black Americans that suffer from this. So again, Black people, if you're seeing this, pass this along. Let somebody see the video. Share it if you feel inspired to. But yeah, we really don't have time to be playing these political games. It's time to wake up. I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? So why is it that Black people still feel as though, politics, not only politics is the answer, but, even during the election campaign in the cycle, you had other Black people saying that, hey, if we don't vote for Biden, that you're a traitor to your race and all this and other type of foolishness. It's like, are you serious? So you want to tell me that the man who's saying bad things is worse than the man who's actually performed bad things and actually played it out? Okay, I mean, if that's how you weigh your scales, those scales are uneven to me, but, whatever, teach his own. But yeah, as you can see, Black people is real, and it's much more real than what they've been telling you. I hate to keep painting a lot of grim pictures from what it seems like in this the beginning phases of this, but at the same time, I gotta lay the foundation so that way we can go on to other places and we can begin to understand what needs to be done. So yeah, that's all I had to say about that. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Your viewership is greatly appreciated. And yeah, Black people, it's time to get active. So, spread the message. If you want to get in touch with me, my email will be down below. But until then, I'll holler at you guys later. Peace.